So today, yeah, as I said, Sean will cover most of the sessions for block one. So we'll have only block one today's session. So we don't have any sessions tomorrow. So because there is not much content for block three. So block three is basically communication and reflection and peer review. So it's basically working on reflecting on the works that you have already done in tasks one and tasks two. So that's what I confirmed, that there will be no sessions tomorrow. Okay. Okay. So what I will do is okay, so what I'll do is I'll do the review and some feedback on task one, and then a little bit on the SFS survey, and then Sean will take over the rest of the thing. And if you have any questions on task two, because task two submission is on this Sunday. So if you have any issues, yeah, just let me know. I'm happy to help you. Okay, so let's just briefly review from the observations I have in from tax one review markings. Yeah, so I will just start with the structure and formatting first. So please, uh, so I think most of you have done very well, but there are some who has not done properly. They haven't stick to the guidelines. So to those who are not able to come to this, I hope they will be able to see this recording, and then yeah, doesn't make any similar mistakes in the task too. So starting with reporting and report structure and formatting, most students, but I'm not most students, I would say some students have this kind of I'm not talking about the design, but the report title is missing. So only the title is the cultural heritage impact assessment, and the subject name. So there is no project name. So it was supposed to be, if you remember the scenario is that you're a professional engineer, I mean professional consultant engaged by the Borough Council, and you're supposed to submit as like a professional report. Although this is a assignment, I agree, but it has to be a professional report. So like how you would present the report if you were a professional engineer. So that's the expectation. So some students, they don't have a report, the title is missing. So that's, I don't want anyone to repeat that same problem. And the other one is like, okay, so it's like you provide this logo, UTS logo, of course, yeah, it's fine. Like for the purpose of assignment is fine, but yeah, as I referring again, as a professional, we this work is not done by the University of Technology. It was done by you as a consultant. Maybe your consulting firm could be a right choice for that logo. So that is what I've observed. And yeah, some of the I think most of the students haven't really followed the instructions on the spacing of the, some use 1.5 spacing, so that now I can understand that it is, they're trying to make up the number of pages, because ours is a page limitation. So some use two line spacing, and some use a very large font size for the titles, and yeah, so it's a very inconsistent way of doing. So being a professional report, yeah, those two, the formatting and of the report is very important, because that gives you the first impression, the quality of your report. If it is very disorganized, even though your content may be very good, the quality of your report inside may be good, but if your report is not structured properly, formatted properly, yeah, it gives a very bad impression. So just please remember that. And yeah, so tables and figures. Yeah, most have done cited the paper, cited the tables and figures that's presented inside the report, and they have discussed and then referred, like okay, referring to table 1 2 like that. But most of the students, they fail to cite the pair and discuss the content of the tables and the figures, because it's no point inserting the figure and the tables if this is not discussed in the text. So it has to be discussed what is it, what it means. So when you do the course of the discussions, you have to refer. I know some of them have referred, but I have discussed the table, but they have not referred to the cited the table. So that's the also a problem. And also some of the students, they didn't even number the tables and the figures. So if it's not number, it doesn't mean anything, because it's as good as not putting it there. And yeah, some of the other thing is that yeah, they have provided, students have provided a long list of references at the end, but most of them are not cited. Some even didn't cite at all, and some just cite few of them. So some of the references are put there to just meet the numbers of 10 references. So this is yeah, this is not a good practice, because whatever you list there has to be cited within the text. So because otherwise, if you're not citing, what's the purpose of putting in the references? It's because this is not for, like, okay, if it is like something that you're providing reading materials to the students, and then yeah, you sometimes you provide this list of bibliography at the end, this from where people can look for more and discuss more. So in that way, sometimes you don't have to really provide this cite, do the citation there, but here the list that you have at the end is supposed to be one that you are really discussing in your text, because you are providing as a supporting evidence, right? So when you're trying to provide something, maybe you're referring to something, or maybe you're trying to give scientific evidence, then you have to give the supporting evidence, right? So this is the reference that you have to give. So if you're not citing, then there's no point. So please remember, in your task 2, if you don't cite that references, is no point putting in there. So I will be more strict in the next what's it, task 2. Okay, so yeah, so in overall, in general, as I said, I would expect the report to be quite professional. So it means no formatting error, and try to stick to the space, the spacing and text size, font size, everything. Because a font size, even font style, we have maintained specified, like it has to be Times New Roman, 12 points, and spacing is single spacing. So if you change that structure, then yeah, it plays with your number of pages. So that's please try to submit as a professional report. Okay, any question on this one? Okay, so if you don't, so I will go to the next one. Okay, so let's just run through each of the sections. In executive summary, yeah, so most of you've done very well. Like most of the students, they could capture everything. In executive summary, what I want, what I mean, not I want, but generally what is expected is a brief summary of everything in your report. So if you somebody who's reading that your executive summary should be able to capture almost everything actually from your report. Oh, this is what it is in the, so which means it should also contain the brief background. What is your objective you're planning to do? Then what is your observation? What were some of the, briefly on, like, what are the key cultural values that you have found, and how it is going to potentially going to impact because of the project, and what is are some of the recommendations you made to what's it, mitigate those impact. So that's what we want, capture everything in brief on that. And so most of you have done well, but few, yeah, like, for example, this one example, yeah. So a very short summary, very short summary. So it doesn't kept. So it says, oh, this is this. I'm going to do this, because you're going to do this. It's just mentioning the objectives. You're not capturing everything, yeah. So it's too short, so those are loses the marks, because we have, why you lose the 5 marks, and because every section we have allocated the marks. Even for example, references, some students put just 5 references, so in that way to you lose 2.5 marks, yeah. So why to lose points for no reason, yeah. So don't make those kind of silly mistakes. And introduction was, mostly it's quite adequate, because it's basically a rewritten of whatever information was provided in the scenario. So yeah, most have done well in this one. And the second section was supposed to be the cultural significance impact assessment. So in this, there are three things actually you can make out that I would expect. One is a cultural principle. So what are the principles involved in that? Because every or the Maori has certain principles based on which they value have a cultural values, right? So all this, like Maori, Wairua, Kai Utatai, Kitai, Mahinga Kai, all these are actually principles. Okay, so these are the beliefs and the principles they based on their cultural values. So this, some students get confused with the principles and the specific cultural values of the site. Of course, the cultural values of that particular site is supposed to be what you have to mention, but instead of mentioning that, some students only mention about the principles. So principle is okay, fine, but you have to be specific, because your task is to find cultural values of that particular site, because every site has a different cultural values, even though the principle is the same, right? So this is what some of them are getting a bit confused, and they only mention very well about the cultural principles, but then they're not connecting to what that the site has a type of cultural value it has. So this is one of the observations that I have made. So what I would have expected is, first mention the cultural values. Even you don't mention cultural values separately, it is fine, but when you are describing your cultural significance, then you add that the cultural principles, because that's where better your cultural values is based on. So which means we should have a cultural principles in general, and then the cultural values of the specific sites, such as Olarong Creek, Timchuk Creek, river, sorry, burial place, surrounding area of the burial place, all these things, because they have a lot of the history of that area, right? So this is what is expected to be described there. And the potential impact to cultural values. So this is kind of an impact statement. So maximum of the students, like I would say 90, more than 90% of students just describe only negative impact. And some of the students even overclaim the impact, like, oh, if you discharge the wastewater effluent, this will, completely destroy the surrounding and the cultural values. As if, it's like a doomsday. So yeah, that is, yeah, it becomes very one-sided view of what's it, because you are a consultant and you are supposed to be uh, evaluating this one from a third person perspective. So which is like you're like a judge. Okay, you're like a judge, that you are not supposed to be biased to anybody. So you're not supposed to be supporting the let's say the council, or nor you're trying to be supporting working for the tribal. So you are to present evidence as it is that you found, based on the scientific evidence, what is there, what you have found, based on what the people are saying, and even what the supporting evidence that you have, that people have presented, that what you have found, and also that now you're based on your own observation from the scientific literature. So this is what you have to impartial, scientific and as expert that you're going to give that report. Okay, so it need not be like, because it becomes sometimes like a quite emotional kind of report that, oh, this is like everything. So even some of the one students even like wrote, for example, that if you if there's a leaching happening from the discharge, and then it may destroy the crops. That's not like any way going to happen, because discharge point is downstream, agriculture farm is upstream. So how is that connection there, that discharge of the nutrients downstream will have impact on the upstream? So there's no possibility, right? So that's like very also very not at all ideal way of saying. So and even if it is, this would say discharge upstream of the agriculture farm, the the effluent has a lot of nutrients, so it is in fact useful for the plants, right? So that's the reason we are doing task 2 to effluent irrigation. But how would the presence of nutrient destroy the agricultural crops? So that's not possible. So that's sort of examples that giving unnecessary negative impact of the discharge. Definitely there is a impact, because when you discharge treated sewage effluent to the creek, which has a lot of cultural values. The cultural values, especially for they value this water, the purity of the water, and then they have a lot of ceremonial water use of the water, and also that they use that what's it the river for their food sustenance, right? And Mahinga Kai, and all these things impact the quality of the water. If people are discharging sewage, then the quality of, even though the quality of food may be good, but still psychologically people will not be able to use that food products, because people will believe that this has been contaminated with the sewage. So that in that way there's a cultural value impact is there, definitely. So this is what I want you to be discussing, not like a very unimaginative kind of impact that is not there. Okay, and yeah, as I was saying, so all most about talking about negative impact, but not about the positive impact, because there are positive impact because of the sewage treatment plant. Because if there is no sewage treatment plant, imagine what would be the would be the sanitary conditions of the town, right? If if that centralized treatment plant is not there, then every household have to have their own sewage treatment plant, or the on-site sanitation problem. That is even more problematic, because everyone will have their own treatment plant which may not function properly, and everyone will discharge their sewage effluent in the soil, and everything goes down to the groundwater and contaminate everything. So that's even more problematic than having. So that's the reason that everybody want to have a proper sewage treatment plant, recirculation system, collect from everywhere, and then treat it at one site. So this is one of the, and by treating that, actually you are really preventing the environmental pollution. So the amount of the level of pollution prevented by having this centralized treatment plant is actually lower than having improperly treated on-site sanitation system everywhere. Okay, so this is one of the positive impact I would have expected you to be mentioning there. Okay, so this is what I have observed. So any questions on the cultural significance and impact assessment?
No, all good.
Okay, okay, right. So finally, this is the recommendation. So this was one of the major major aspects. So yeah, as I said, yeah, we discussed last time. I think it was Page or somebody pointed out that we didn't have much knowledge about the technology, and then we are supposed to give some recommendations here. But of course, yeah, you're not supposed to be giving very in detailed scientific advice in here. It's just a kind of recommendations, general recommendations that this kind of technology could be used to solve the problem. So in basically, I instead of really coming up with the hardcore engineering, what's say the technical solutions, or this should be this kind of water treatment process. So instead of that kind of detail, so I would have wanted something like this. For example, a good recommendations would something look like that. The first, if you look at the hierarchy of the impact that we want to have, yeah, first thing is we want to completely avoid. So we want to first solve the problem of trying to avoid. So what are the solutions if you want to completely avoid discharging the effluent? Because remember the basic principle, or the most preferred principle in that their EV management plan, I think, is to avoid direct discharge to the water bodies as much as possible, right? So that's like, okay, indirect discharge is fine, but no direct discharge to the water body. So that's one of the principles that they prefer. So that's the one that you have to solve first. Okay, so avoidance of direct discharge to the creek. So this is what are solutions if you want to avoid, and that's the land treatment. Okay, so that's where, of course, this is the part of the tasks too that you are doing. Land treatment such as effluent irrigation of the nearby pond. So that's the reason also I provided there are a lot of farms nearby, right? You have treated sewage effluent, you contain a lot of nutrients. Then why discharge to the effluent and not give it to the people? Because sewage is treated actually to the quality that if it is able to be discharged to the river, then yeah, it should be able to be used for irrigation. But of course, you can't use for irrigation of the crops that you directly consume. The other things are must like if it is, for example, some staple food or some other product. Many of the crops is actually you cook and eat, right? So there's no way of getting those bacteria or infection. If there's something that vegetables that you can consume raw, so that is maybe a little bit of health issue, but yeah. And the other one is a constructed wetland. So this is what most of the students provided that option, idea of constructed wetland. So that's a good idea, but when you provide a constructed wetland just along the riverside, and then you discharge, instead of discharging to the creek, then you discharge into the constructed wetland, then remember that there are different types of constructed wetland. So your constructed wetland will be also fully filled with water. So that's called overland constructed wetland, right? So if you have that overflow one, then naturally there will be a direct hydraulic connectivity with your creek, right? Olarum Creek. So which means most of the, of course, I agree that most of the nutrients coming in the sewage will be filtered and also taken up by the plants, but still some will go because there's a direct hydraulic connection between the wetland and the creek. So this may not exactly meet the criteria of direct discharge, not direct discharge, because you're directly connecting this one. So they want indirect connection. It may look indirect connection, but in terms of hydraulic connectivity, it is still there. So I don't believe that this is the principle that the no direct discharge really fully applies. So it may be there are other ways of doing that. Yeah, this is one. Is the one is subsurface wetland. There are some designs where you have horizontal subsurface flow. So which means the direct hydraulic connection from the top is not there. So everything is filtered from the underground network of what's the wetland filtration system, and then whatever you get is like treated indirectly through the land, and then you're discharging to the creek. So in that way, this may be more applicable or meeting the criteria of no direct discharge. So this is one of the some students provided this, suggested its subsurface wetland. So that is a good idea. Okay. And the second option is to reduce the impact. So first, to avoid the impact. So the only two, of course, the other one you could mention was the land treatment could be like slow rate treatment system and rapid rate treatment system. Yeah, there are two types, slow type and even yeah, even slow type you have type 1 and type 2, right? So using vegetation and those sort of things. And the other one is also there is aquifer, recharge also is there. So even yeah, nobody has mentioned that, even though I discussed this one in the class, but nobody mentioned that. So because in other in even in Australia, like in South Australia and in Western Australia in Perth, there's this the putting back of the treated sewage effluent, I mean, to the ground on a recharge is very much practiced. So this one could be one of the options that you avoid discharging to the creek. And the second one I say was a reduction in the impact of the from the discharge. So how you can reduce is basically only to improve the quality of the effluent, right? So how to what extent you can improve. So no, most of you have not discussed that. Most of you discuss, oh, like very providing fancy treatment technology. Even some provided a reverse osmosis treatment system. But is it necessary? Because it's a small town. Uh, so reducing, yeah, definitely by improving the quality of the effluent. So some suggested, few suggested, treating the wastewater to the quality of the fresh water, so that because Olaram Creek is a freshwater river, right? So if you treat to that quality of the fresh water, then maybe people will not feel, even though that psychology will be there, but in terms of quality of the water, that it's quite clean, and then still, even though there will be some impact on the cultural values, but it may not be they will be used. The tribe may not be able to use that water for drinking or for ceremonial purpose, but maybe still okay to use for food, like Mahinga Kai, right? Maybe food product from the fish and product from the plants, medicinal herbs. So they can still use if the quality of the water is good. So this is the one that we are expecting to. So of course, some may use UV disinfection, sand filtration, membrane bioreactor, conventional activity slash process. So these are some of the okay, yeah, fine. It's recommendation. So because that these are some of the treatment technology that can give you the best water quality if you want to go to the extent of fresh water, because so they want to prevent the impact on the cultural values. And yeah, yes, I think 50% of the students did not mention about the cumulative impact of the uh, of of the from the upstream diffused or known point source of pollution. Because remember, the the tribal community, and then they have pointed out that there is a impact of the pollution coming from the farms located upstreams. So a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus coming from, and also stormwater coming from the town. So everything goes to that creek, and then because of this, already the quality of the creek is impacted, and then if you put the sewage down there, you're impacting more. So that was one of their concerns, right? So you're supposed to address that concerns. How you're going to address that? So integrated waste catchment management is one of the one that I would have expected. Only few students have mentioned that. So integrated management is not only looking at your treatment plant, reducing impact from your treatment plant, but from the whole catchment. So the only way you can do is, say, for example, maybe encourage wetland alongside the river, creek, immediately after, I mean, so that the overflow from the farms doesn't really go straight to the creek. So in between you have a buffer vegetation, like a wetland and vegetation. So that will filter everything that's coming from the farm, and then in that way your quality of of creek will be maintained. So that was one of the options that you could have provided. And also another one is also educating the farmers who are using the farm upstream, and not in terms of education in terms of no, not using the excess fertilizer, because if you use excess fertilizer, then yeah, this is going to impact the river. And also pollution management, what's the management through monitoring, continuous monitoring of the system. So if you have that kind of monitoring system, including public engagement, because you that will give you the confidence. Because if you the council representative or the tribal council representatives are part of that team in monitoring, then that can give the confidence that okay, the council is doing properly, right? And yeah, there are some other recommendations as well, because of the there were issues raised on the noise barrier, and also increase the capacity, because the capacity of the treatment plant, the population growth was not properly taken, accurately taken. So there were capacity increase. Public engagement was another, that there was least engagement from the public, and then they have to the council has to make sure that public are kept in the loop. And yeah, so some even suggested noise barrier, because of the surface area just could make a lot of noise. And then that's you can do that kind of noise barrier, but of course, yeah, you already have a visual impact problem with pond. And if you erect noise barrier walls, then again your visual impact is even going to be worse. So that sort of things, yeah, it has to be. But of course, as a part of recommendations, some students thought about this. Okay. So any good suggestion that I missed from here? So you may want to point out. Yeah. So once you have a recommendation here, every recommendation has its objective, right? Which is the concern that you're trying to address. So there was a specific concern raised by the community, the Maori community, and the tribal representative. So you want to address that. Yeah, so this is why, to address that, you provide this recommendation. But some students provide recommendation which is not at all trying to solve the purpose there. Oh yeah, so many fancy things provide, but why are you providing this? Which part of the problem raised by the council or the people, the community, are you trying to address this? Yeah. So straight away trying to say that, oh, they put this treatment plan and then fancy ones. But yeah, neighbors is not mentioning what is the objective that you're trying to achieve by giving that recommendation. Yeah, so you can't just give a recommendation there. Well, what is the purpose? What is it that you're trying to achieve from there? So it has to be explained that one. Okay, so I think there were three students who submitted the task one based on their own scenario. But I was a bit. It was a little bit. I'm unhappy that in one way they choose to. I mean, they choose to provide, choose to have their own scenario. Some of looks like some were based on the real scenario, but the problem was that these projects didn't have much impact on the cultural values. So I told during the sessions last time in doing block one that please do not choose a project that has a not much significant impact. If the project doesn't have a significant impact, then because you don't get much exercise in doing the cultural impact assessment. Yeah, but unfortunately, some choose to do that, and then they of course they try to make up with creating their own cultural significance and all. But yeah, in that way, but yeah, still, if there's no cultural values, significant impact, then yeah, it's I wouldn't have encouraged to do that. But anyway, so that was one of the observations. Okay, so we discussed this one because we are the same group of people today. So I will not uh, touch on this one again, how we improve. But hopefully, you guys will give me more recommendations or feedback in the SFS during the what are some of the improvements that we can make. So now coming back to I have in about 15 minutes or so. So I'm this is task 2. Okay, so now we have extended by 1 week, so to this Sunday is the last date, due date for submission. I just want to have a quick feedback on what how you're going on this one with this. If you have any questions, yeah, it's now time to discuss. The first question I want to ask is, how did you find this assignment? Or same thing like I used to ask for the task 1. Was it difficult? Is it difficult, easy, confused, not so useful? Or do you think that effluent irrigation design would be useful for you? What do you think about should some changes be made in the future? So in terms of design and then the scope of the design report. So any comments that you have on this Henning Paul page?
I think it was good. Like it's good so far. Like just working through it, trying to finish it off. Yeah, it's been quite good. You get to like obviously learn about the different types of crops that you can use, for example, and I like how you can explore your own solutions. Like we're not really taught any solutions, so it makes us go out and explore what sort of solutions can be implemented. So yeah, that like I found that the assignment's pretty good. Like it's easy to follow, and the way that makes it easy to follow is like you give us the brief. So like the brief helps a lot in like how to structure our actual report. The only thing that I'm finding a bit difficult is keeping under the page limit because I really like to get in detail and structure my report a certain way to make it look presentable, and that usually takes more than the page limit. That's the only thing that I find difficult. And obviously, I try to condense my work as much as possible, but I still, sometimes get over the page limit.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, thank you, Paul. Yes, as I said in earlier sessions, yeah, I don't really care much about the page numbers. Yeah, page numbers is actually basically a requirement from the administration point of view, from the but as long as students are comfortable providing less is not so good, yeah, but a little bit over is fine, but not so much over. Like I was saying, if say for example, if your page limit is 15, so don't provide like 30 pages or so. That's too much for me to read also, because it takes a lot of time to read all the reports in detail. But say if it's 15 pages, 20 pages is fine. Yeah. Like it is acceptable, so it doesn't matter. So even you don't have to count the number of pages for references, appendix, and the cover page and the table of contents. But the the written part, that's what I look at it. So say if your pages is 15, for example, then maybe if you're providing 25 pages or something like that, then the 15 pages is still the written report, and others are like because of the table of contents and then appendix, it is fine for me. Okay, even written report a little bit, few pages, as I said, around 20 pages is fine. So you need not really worry about the pages, but yeah, not too much, because that's also one of the, as I was saying in earlier, writing a concise report is also an art. So we as a student, we have to learn how to summarize. That's the one of the objectives of executive summary. Why we are preparing executive summary, you're trying to condense the whole report into one page, right? So that's what you have to try to do. You can write a lot of things, but there are things that you don't have to write, right? So you write what is necessary for the report. So there are some things that it may look important, but maybe it's not really necessary for the report. So that's how you have to judge, and what is really necessary, just write it. And if it's not, even you may have written something, but you just, when you read again, then you'll realize that, oh, this is not necessary, because this is, maybe this is understood. Maybe you can even give, instead of writing one whole paragraph, maybe you can just give few lines and then give reference citations from where you can get that. Usually we do that in the research, when you write a research paper, for example. Yeah. There's always a page limitation, or the some journals doesn't have, but some journals they have page limitations, or the number of words limitation. So in that way we try to, condense within that and say, because some things we don't have to really describe in that, because it is already known. Whatever is necessary, you just have to write there. Okay. So yeah, so Paul, don't worry about the number of pages, but don't go too much also. Okay.
Yep.
Any
Thank you.
How about Paige and Hennings? Do you have any issues with tasks too? Because last time I think we discussed a little bit on this, but yeah, if you have any issues so far, let me know.
No, I think I'm all good. Thank you.
Yeah, all good. No other issues since we last discussed it. Yeah.
Okay, then fine. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and hopefully, yeah, you should be able to submit good report by Sunday, and I will, yeah, try to give my feedback as much as possible before the due date for your next assignment. Hopefully I can, but yeah, I'm not sure I can guarantee that, but yeah, at least 50% I should be able to do. So if you don't have any other questions, yeah, okay, next is the just okay. So as this will be the last, because we will not have any follow up. So Sean, we will have no consultation session, right? Because this is not really necessary for the next. So we have not scheduled any consultation session for task 3. But if you have any issues, yeah, you can talk to Sean. So Sean will discuss this one later more. But I want to talk about this student feedback survey. So this survey will open on 18th of this month and close on the 7th of November. So please take a few minutes to do the survey and give your feedback as to how we can improve the delivery of subject in the future. As I was saying to you last time, so we're planning to convert this subject into studio-based learning from next year. So although the reporting and the report preparation and will remain same, but the way we deliver this subject will be slightly different, and we will be not doing any more on this same scenario. So we'll have a different, completely different scenario. Even we may not be doing the one which we are doing, so it will be a completely different one. But we are working on that, and yeah, hopefully your feedback will be useful for us in the future. And last time during the early feedback survey, I have only around 3 students who participated, and then so that was not enough for me to get even the feedback result, because at least 5 students has to be participating for me to get the result, the survey result. But yeah, so I strongly encourage you to participate in the feedback survey when it opens on 18th, and give please give us your good feedback so that we can improve in the future. But of course, I will keep reminding you when the survey opens, and also when the survey is able to close. So please bear with us. Okay, so that's all I have from my side today. So, and Sean will continue. I wish you all the best of luck in your, the next assignments, and hopefully, yeah, everything will be okay. Okay, Sean, I will stop my. Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Can you see my slide?
Yes, yes, we
Yep.
can.
All right, that's great. So, good morning, everybody. So, my name is Ho Kyung Shun. So, I'm very happy to join this class for the water and environment design. So, already it looks like you have a lot of assignment and a lot of challenging design your project. So, shall we summarize very well task 1, task 2. So, what happened so far, and then your very good point as well as how to improve your assignment. So that's exactly we want to discuss about task 3, project communication and reflections. So it's a relatively, we are very much easy. You don't have to design, you don't have to make a very strong report. The task 3, how many people read your Canvas for the assignment 3, and then all your material today's presentation. So have you ever looked at your task 3? What's the assignment you have to do, and then what's the slide today's lectures? Do you have a better feeling? How about how many people prepare your pre-assignment for your self-reflection? What's your event which you really make you change it? And then today we can have a just brief summary of your event, very important, and then milestone. So we can have a little bit of discussion about how to reflect your own way of assignment as well as your life. So task 3, we will develop the skills effectively using multimedia. So your assignments is no more 15 pages, 20 pages. Paul, you need more pages, right? So you don't have to write any more page in detail. So this time is more about your presentation slide and your video. So you can record your video. Also, this is more little bit of concise and summarized your reflection. So this is a 10 minutes video you have to finish. Also, you have to summarize well for your own task 1, task 2, as well as the other people assignment. So why it is a good report, how you inspire, how you learn, how you feel like this is not professional report. So you need to learn how to make good feedback, because wherever you go to your consulting position, even any other position, so you need to give us your peer report feedback or some of your own report feedback yourself, how to reflect yourself as a professional report. So that's exactly, we have to improve the skill. So we will utilize the multimedia to communicate the key project outcome and understanding. Also experience of the peer review and assessment, learn from the works of other students. So how they have a different strategy to make a professional report, and then how they summarized well, and then how to learn from the also reflective learning. So task 3, we need to have a video presentation. So you can just mention about your 2 main part. One is your assignment, and the other one is your peer assignment. And then self-reflection from the preparation of your task, and then reflection from peer review and assignment, so that you can improve how you can have a better reflection of your report and then project communication. Okay, so what's the reflection? Every day you live as a reflection. So you can think about what happened today, what happened last week, what happened last month, what happened last year, what happened. So every day you try to remind, but not many people try to improve how to prepare better way of your own reflection. So that's exactly we have to make sure. So this is the learning experience, thinking about what's the result after that, and then how we can improve. So when this is done with your awareness and the intention of identifying area of the deeper learning, and the process is reflection. So you have to see the more deep and then critical and significant reflection so that you can have your own self-reflection. And learning experiences include attending lectures or a class meeting, reading, also watching a video or engaging in a conversation. So this is a good example. So balcony view. So when you are in a party, just think about yourself. So there are a lot of people. So some of them very much socially engaged. Some of them very popular. Some of them are very much good way of the behavior and they're good looking. So many different people are around. And then when you see them from the balcony, and when you see them from the same level, that's very much different. So you can see yourself at your balcony level. So maybe you can record yourself or from the balcony level and then see how you behave others. So you can realize how you can behave. So you will see the very much different from what you thought about yourself. And then you can compare with others, somebody who is very much socially engaged, somebody who is very much discussed with other people, and then you want to have a better way of your self-improvement. So that's the way we have to look at how you can improve your reflection when you see the different level of your anger. So the reflection is a process of analyzing and then making judgment about your own experience. Also involves the observation, asking questions, and then putting facts, idea, and experience together to derive the new meaning. Already Sharon mentioned about he observed your report, task 1. So what happened is the sum of students, the title is completely wrong. It's not about the SIA title. It has to be based on your own way of the title. And then some of the minor issue like text and then grammar and then line spacing, figure and caption, references. So he observed very much this kind of problem in your report. Also, most importantly, structure, storytelling of your report, how you critically discuss your own problem solving, and then how you reduce your impact, how to integrate your management, also public engagement. Some of your cultural values have not really addressed what the learning outcome from task 1 and task 2 meant to be. So he observed, okay, what's the problem from your task 1, task 2, and then he asked a question. Also, exactly, you have the same procedure. You have to ask a question, okay, what you have to do, what you have to. So you have to collect all the facts, your own idea and experience, and then you have to try to make a better solution of your report. That's exactly you can have a better reflection. Also, the Charub from his point of view, he has also his own reflective learning for your task 1, task 2. So this reflection is very important for your critical analysis, also problem solving, synthesis of the opposing ideas, and the evaluation, identifying patterns, and then creating meaning and critical thinking skills. So you analyze, reconsider, and question your experiences and values, beliefs, and decisions within a broad context of the issues, and content knowledge adds depth and breadth to your learning. That's the what we feel like reflection. Overall, your reflection is about critical thinking. Also, very much you have to look at yourself as a different person, and then you will have a more objective, not really subjective your analysis, so that you can improve, and then how you can make a better way of your report. So that's what we have to improve our reflection. So there are many different way of the reflection. So when you see yourself as your daddy and the mom, so you can see they always think about you as a angel. So whatever you do, they are always happy with you most of time. Yeah. But when you see your reflection as your girlfriend view, so your girlfriend, you can see your photo here. Always she or he think about you a very lovely person. And then when you compare with your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend, it looks like you are a devil. Yeah. So it's like depending on who you are looking at, and then depending on what's your own way of the reflection. So that's the different you are. Also, when your brother or your relative or your friends or your family, even anybody like a lecturer, when I see your supervisor or lecturer see you, so you have to also see the different reflection of yourself, because they have a different demanding from you. So we have to look at the objective, so how we can improve, and depending on your person. So self-reflection as a personal definition is time to dig deeper into yourself. So what worked well or what didn't. So this is very important. You have to think about deep learning, and then critical learning, critical thinking, and then what worked well for you and what didn't, because that's exactly you can improve much better for your whole life. So you have to keep accumulating your way of what's the very good fit for you. Also, self-reflection as an example to inform practice. So I learned that I should have a variety of activity. So you have to also observe yourself from your daily life, and then your practice way of your learning as a self-reflection, and then you have to keep making sure that this is the way you have to keep improving yourself. Also, important role of the growth development, just being able to better yourself for the next person. And then varied tool for the personal use. So I self-reflect at a deeper level if I outside in nature. So if you keep thinking about your own way, you don't know in fact yourself very well. But if you see yourself as an outside, so more about objective, and then you will have a better analysis of yourself. So that's the way, you know, people can improve much better rather than you think about only your way of the thinking. So for example, like, you know, a lot of very good Hollywood movie star, and whenever they are young, and then they had a movie, and then they feel like I was not able to watch my own movie because it was not really professional. It was not really well prepared. But after their 10 years later, 20 years later, they look at their movie again, and then they knew that that's my reflection. I should have done better this way. I should have done this way. I should have, because they experience and they learn, and then they have to also critically emphasize what happened and what didn't do well. So that's exactly, you have to see more critically yourself as outside your system, and then you will analyze yourself better, and then you can improve, and then you have to keep trying and then make yourself much more professional way of your life. Also, outcome, this is the mostly clinical outcome, so occupational practice. So thinking about through the before the next day, what I could try different that may be more beneficial to the patient. So this is the more about other people. So when you're a nurse or when you're a doctor, so how they have your own self-reflection to improve, to benefit to your patient. So that that's also, you can think about not only your self-reflection as well as the other people, how they feel and how we can improve this kind of reflection. So that's the way we can have more opportunity to improve our life. So already I gave you one just a small assignment, the 2-minute reflection. So over the course of the this class, so you will be asked to give 2-minute self-reflection talk in preparation for this. Reflect on an event or experience that happened to you before the age of 20, or yeah, it doesn't matter really, 20 before or a little bit after. So in your introduction, you can describe how this event and experience has contributed to shaping who you are today. So anybody want to share about just 2 minutes your reflection, and then we can discuss about how we can improve your own way of the reflection. So Henning, you wanna start first?
Sure.
Okay. So don't worry about time. 2 minutes is just yeah, rough estimation. So you can share about what happened and then what did you learn.
I don't know if it's 2 minutes, but I'll see. So when I was 7, I immigrated from South Africa to Australia. And in that, because I was very young, I started losing my culture and like how I grew up and stuff. But when I was 13, I started working at our local like ethnic store. In that, I worked there for eight years, and I met people who came from South Africa at a much later date, and I was able to reconnect with my culture. So in that shaped the person who I am and who I am today. Don't know if that was kind of what you were looking for. That's what I prepared.
All right. That's great. How about the Paul or Paige?
Yep. So what are we doing here? Just reflecting on something that's shaped ourselves as.
Yes, who you are today.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well. Yeah. So I'm Greek originally, so I was born in Australia, but like my grandparents are Greek. And you know, as a kid, like we want to try and uphold like our culture and our heritage and stuff like that. So, um, for example, my parents would make us go to like these Greek dancing classes, and you know, we'd get to meet a lot of people of our culture. Especially, I'm from this island called Crete, so it's a big island in Greece. So specifically, we will do Cretan dancing, and it'll be like every Friday night. It'd be like a social event. So you'd go there like in Ashfield, and then there's like this dancing hall, and they would like serve food in the kitchen, and you know you'd get to bond with a lot of people from the same culture, same place, and like you'd get to know a lot of them. And obviously, they had all come from Greece as well and immigrated to Australia. So like you know, when my grandparents first came here, they didn't really have anyone. Like they didn't have anything. Like they didn't speak the language and stuff like that. So they'd all come to this like one, you know, hall and like talk to each other and you know get to know each other. And that's sort of like what we carried on. And you know, even to this day, sometimes I still go down there. Like, still got a few friends over there, and you know, that shaped me as a person because you know you get to like meet people and understand like that you know everyone kind of was in the same boat when they came here, and that's kind of shaped me as a person, you know, to appreciate and understand like what has happened in the past. And yeah, like you know, everyone that came to Australia was pretty much foreign in like my culture. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. Good experience. Dancing King, yeah?
Yep.
How about Paige? You want to share a little bit of your experience?
Yeah, I'll go. So I've got construction going on in my building right now, so it's really loud. I don't know if you can hear me. So when I was 18, I went backpacking by myself. So I did 6 months in Europe and 3 months in Southeast Asia. So I did 9 months on my own. I think that was like a pretty big experience to shape who I am today, because I feel like your whole childhood, pretty much up until you're 18, I feel like you don't really get a whole lot of independence. And then I just threw myself into a situation where like everything was just me. So I had to do everything myself. It made me very comfortable with being alone, which was great. It also made me rely entirely on myself. I had to do everything for myself, and navigating foreign countries where people don't even speak English, it was definitely a task, but it was good. It taught me how to speak up and to interact with people who are so completely different from me and completely different from anybody that I've ever interacted with, like whether it's age-wise or just like cultural backgrounds. And it made me completely responsible for my actions. I feel like everything that I did when I was traveling was solely my choice. Like I couldn't make any excuse for anything that happened. Like I had to be solely responsible for everything that happened. And it definitely taught me the importance of investing in myself. Like I think traveling around makes you quite physically and mentally exhausted. So it really made me value like just self-care things, like making sure I make time for myself and having time out. But yeah, I think overall it's definitely made me super independent. Yeah.
So how long you spent in your Europe travels?
I spent 6 months in Europe and 3 months in Southeast Asia.
Oh, that's great. So you learn a lot of independence.
Yeah, it was good. It was a fun
Wow,
time.
that's great. That's great. Okay, so very happy to see all the different experience of your reflection. So everybody looks like learn a lot of your cultural background, and then how you engage and how you utilize your strengths, and then today who you are. So that's exactly very important. So you just remember your background, how you grow, and then how you utilize the way of your learning. That's exactly, you are reflecting very well. And then without, notice or unconsciously, you are utilizing this kind of skill for your life, which are very much important. And then now it's time to look at the critically, and then you can think about more deeply how you utilize this kind of experience for you. And then how you can improve more, because still you are a long way to go for your life. and then how this will help you much better. Even though you recognize yourself, okay, this experience will really make you, how you engage with people, how you understand people, how to socially engage, that kind of important your learning point. Now it's time to go for the next level of your reflection. And that's the reason why I want to share slide again. So based on your reflection of the 2 minutes, so we can go for a little bit more detail. So let's answer, we have 6 questions. So identify 2 things you did or habits you have developed that helped you to learn. And now consider how you can apply the things that you did or habit that worked for before to future learning experience, and identify 2 things or habit that could have been better in your previous learning experience. So what were the barriers to you learning this kind of before, and then how do you hold yourself back from learning? So if you agree, so you can now think about these answers, and then we can have a break, just 10 minutes for the toilet. And then when you finish your toilet and then break, we can have a little bit more detail. So what's your habit, what's your improvement, how you can improve much better, and then what's the barrier, so how you can make this barrier to solve. And then we will discuss about differently how you can make your ability to learn much better in the future. So we can have just 15 minutes. So we will come back again around 10:40, and you can think about this answer and have a little bit of break. Is it okay?
Yeah, all good.
All right. So see you in 15 minutes later.
See you later.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So, how was your quality break?
Good break, good break.
That's great. So, you had a coffee?
No, I was just at my desk working on an assignment.
All right, that's good timing. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you can continue your assignment. Yeah, it's a very busy timing for the end of your semester. All right, so let's go for our, yeah. Okay, where is so who want to start first based on your 2-minute reflection, and then what you can answer for this 6 question. So who want to start?
Yeah, I
Who
can
want to
start.
jump in? All right, that's great, Paige.
So 2 habits that I developed that helped me learn, I think, were gaining the confidence to speak up and becoming responsible for my actions. I'll be able to apply these in the future, particularly in workplaces, like being able to speak up when I'm unsure or having issues, or even just standing up for myself in the workplace. And I think taking responsibility for my mistakes is another thing that I'll carry into the workplace, like owning my mistakes and learning how to overcome these. Number 3, I actually don't have an answer for. Identify 2 things or habits that could have been better.
Yeah.
I don't think anything could have been better.
Yeah.
What were the barriers to me before? I was always quite a quiet kid, so I sort of lacked the confidence to speak up. I doubted myself and sort of worried about asking stupid questions, whereas I feel like now I'll just straight up say, this might be a stupid question, but I'm just far away. So I think I've definitely improved on that. How do I hold myself back from learning? I think sometimes I ask questions too fast without actually letting myself figure out the answer. Yeah, and I think I could improve this by just like considering the question before I ask it and thinking if I can overcome it myself.
That's great. So you have a lot of good learning from your self-reflection.
Yep.
So you have to continue this kind of experience whenever. I'm sure that this is just a very small example. You should have a much better event and much more important your reflection, so that you have to think about how you can analyze yourself and how you can try to apply for your positive outcome, and then how you can improve, which will make you pave a very good life for your end of your whole experience. All right, that's great, Paige. Thank you for sharing so it's possible, yeah, this is possible to share with the other student based on this recording, or if you feel, okay, this is a little bit your personal, so private, yeah, so if you don't agree, yeah, I'm happy not to share, but if you agree, I'm happy to share your experience for self-reflection as well as this Q&A. Is it okay, Paige, to share with others?
Yeah, I don't mind.
All right, that's great. Thank you. How about others? Paul, you want to share this one for your experience?
Yeah, sure. I guess, yeah, 2 things that I did or habits that I developed that helped me to learn is, yeah, just always, when you're having a problem, just ask questions. So, for example, like if I had a question with the assignment, I asked Sherib on Teams or email or something like that. And before doing that, also I'd do my own research. So that's another thing that I did to break habits or, develop that helped me to learn. Just do some prior research, and then if you still can't figure it out, then you can kind of ask a question that's more detailed. How you can apply the things that you did or habits that worked to before future learning experiences. How you can apply the things that you did. Yeah, so like when you're doing a project, for example, if there's a bit of ambiguity in the project, like you need to ask your like project manager or something like that, for example, like what do you have to do here, like what are the specifications, like obviously you need to ask those more detailed questions to ensure that you're like doing the right thing for the report, for example. Two things or habits that could have been better in your previous learning experience. I guess, like for example, if you don't ask the right questions and you just assume something and it's wrong, like your project manager could pull you up about it and say, you know, this you might have like not you might have not thought about this the right way, like, or something like that, like the client was after something different. So like that's where you have to ask those questions to ensure that you're like understanding what the requirements are. What were the barriers to you learning before? Yeah, I guess just like being quiet and like just not asking questions. Like if you have a problem, like if you just stay quiet, then you're not really like learning anything or like trying to solve the question directly. How do you hold yourself back from learning? I guess, yeah, just not asking questions, like that obviously stops learning. Like if you have something and it's really bugging you, like and you just let it go, like you're not really going to be learning anything, and you're just going to be like answering the question based on like something that you're just assuming or something that might not be correct. Based on your responses to the 5 questions, what could you do differently to make your ability to learn better in the future? Oh, I just suggest like asking questions. That's the main thing. Because then you can kind of get the detailed information that you need to solve stuff as a real engineer, like as in a project. And always communicate. They're the main things. Like keep strong communication all the time, which is based on, you know, the asking of the questions and the understanding.
All right, that's great. So that's very much relevant to what you mentioned about your self-reflection during your younger period, and that you joined the party for the dancing, and that you know how to engage. I wish you could explain and answer more about your dancing experience and your cultural background, your Greek related, you know, experience for your self-reflection based on the answers.
Yeah.
You're talking about more project-based, right?
Yeah, more
Yeah.
project-based stuff.
All right, okay. All right, so that's just a good reflection. How about Henning? Can you also share about based on your 2-minute reflection? Can you share about your 2 things and how you can improve? How this you make you learn, and how you can make it better in the future? Can you share with me and with others?
Yeah, so there are 2 things that I did or
Yeah.
habits that I developed while working there. And one of
Yeah.
the ones was speaking up to clients and take responsibility for my actions. And like we also had a few clients that in all service places, I'm sure people have clients where the traditional rule of the customer's always right doesn't count. And you need to stand up to them and make sure that they know that this is also a business and they can't act that way. Another one that stood out was in my culture, we have a saying, because it's a very farmer-based culture, and the saying is, a farmer makes a plan. So whenever something goes wrong, no matter what, you get yourself out of it. You make a plan to get to the next stage. Mainly coming down from back in those days, there wasn't a time to go reach out to someone and say, hey, I have this problem. Can you fix it for me? You're on your own at your own farm. How can I apply these things in my future? Well, the first one is in engineering. We're paid to get the right answer for clients, and sometimes that answer doesn't match up with what they were expecting in the beginning or what they wanted. Particularly in like the cultural heritage thing, they wanted to build a sewage plant, but our recommendation was, no, we can't really do that because it's going to damage too much. And then also from that, we need to make a plan to fix it for them and provide them with a solution that does work. 2 habits are things that could have been better in my previous learning experience. Overall, it was pretty good, but yeah, some things that I needed to learn took a little bit longer. mainly on like the customer service side because I was only 13 when I started, and a lot more difficult to stand up to a 6-year-old person at the age of 13, even though you know how the company runs everything. And some barriers to my learning was not asking enough questions or assuming that I knew things. And sometimes I didn't actually know the answer. And then in the beginning, being too quiet or not speaking up, like those kind of things. How did I hold myself back? So not talking things out and asking enough questions, and then focusing on distractions was another big thing. So focusing on the things that weren't to be done at that moment. Like if you had a customer waiting and I was busy cleaning, I should have moved over to the customer instead of continuing to clean. And then extra resources, what could you have done differently? Ask more questions and streamline my focus, I guess, to focus on the customer and ask more questions about learning about people, other experiences and those kind of things.
That's great. So you identify yourself, how to behave responsibly for your actions. Also, your second point is the planning. So how you can plan better. So you have a good experience when you are in 13 years old. That's exactly you have built on your own experience and your skill. Now it's time to make this kind of note. So you have to make sure that how you are yourself today. So you have a good kind of a point. Responsible your actions. Whatever you speak, yeah, you have to be carefully, talk, and you have to responsible your action, as well as you have to carefully plan whatever you do, which will make you more successful story, which is also very important for you. So what I want to say that, okay, this is the your experience. So when I ask you, so you just share with me this kind of important key point. And this is really now is the time to make sure how to improve yourself. So you have to make your own way of mind mapping, or you can write it down in your computer. So make sure that what's your philosophy of your life, how you are improving yourself, how you make learn better and better in the future. So that's exactly your practice-oriented, your learning key point based on your self-reflection. And then you have to go now is the next level and deeper, and then critical action, which will make you much more good way of the learning key point. So if possible, yeah, whatever you talk, the Henning and then Paul and Paige. So this is just a simple experience. Our just testing for your self-reflection, and then how you learn and how you can improve. So you have to look at the list of your strengths, what did you learn, and how you can go next step. So that's exactly you have to check it out, and then keep summarize your way of the self-reflection improvement wish list, and then you have to keep pursue. And that's the way you will have much more chance to improve for your self-reflection agenda. So thank you for your cooperation for this self-reflection, and everybody has a very important moment and then event, and then now we a little bit of understand how you improve so far, and then how you will improve next for your future. And then you have to keep reminded this kind of important critical thinking of the self-reflection. Okay, so now it's a time to have a little bit of our task 3 in detail. So let me share our, this is the task 3 from the assignment in Canvas. So you can see our project communication reflection. So this is part 1, the self-reflection on your works, tasks 1 and 2, and part 2, peer assessment of the other student report. So you can record your multimedia presentation. So everybody has your multimedia recording system in your computer, or Henning, so how you record your multimedia presentation, how you're planning to do?
I've generally done these kind of presentations through PowerPoint. So PowerPoint has a feature where you can
Yeah,
screen
right.
capture and you can record a video and sound. I
That's
generally
true.
do that for my multimedia things.
That's true. How about Pages? Paul, so you have your own way of
Yeah.
recording your multimedia. So some
Yeah.
of people are using Zoom, some of people are using just a camera from your computer, and some of people are using different, like Kaltura. Can you access Kaltura? Any Henning or any student? Have you ever used the Kaltura? No.
I've not
No.
used it before.
Okay, so it's I think this is Kaltura. So this is the university provided software, but maybe student may not access, because you can record your screen as it is. So while you are communicating, so we are recording from Zoom. So this is the Zoom recording system. And then this is the second, our insurance to record our the screen. So we are using also Kaltura. Kaltura can be used to also record your own way of the video. So already you have your own way to record your multimedia video system. So you can just make it short 10 minutes for your part 1 and 2. So PDF file. So you can upload in your Canvas assignment, the video presentation. So first page of the slide should contain link of your pre-recorded YouTube. Do you have a YouTube, or do you want to use some other, maybe web hard a link, or some of the Dropbox or OneWall? So what kind of link do you want to use? Do you have a YouTube?
I generally found pretty good experience with the YouTube one. So we use our UTS account and log into Google via that, and then we can use the UTS account for our YouTube.
All right, that's great. So everybody can access this kind of link, right? That's great. And then you must give access, if possible, for your private sharing. Of course, if you like, you can have a public sharing. That's fine. So you don't have to give any permission in this case. And then create a pre-recorded YouTube video presentation using above slide, upload in your YouTube private channel. And then, so this is your project communication detail. So you can just see your PDF file. The part 1 is a self-reflection of your own work with tasks 1 and 2. Already you have your marks, task 1. Task 2 will be submitted this weekend, and then Shahrukh and will provide this task 2 very soon. Also, you can have some other student assessment. The last year we provided 3 peer review assignment, but this year, we will provide the 3 report. But you can try to just analyze the only 2 reports. Of course, if you like, you can do 3, all of them, but you can pick up the 2 of them, and then critically you can reflect the peer assessment. Last year we asked the student to provide score, so like 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. But this year we completely removed you don't have to give any score, just give a little bit of your reflection and then discussion, why it's good, why it's not good, and then what did you learn, what didn't do learn from this report. So you don't have to give any scoring system, just provide your feedback. That should be all right. So that's the way we can provide your, yeah. So you can see the sum of suggestion and video production. So don't confuse your example. So I just want to share one example. Can you see the this video?
No, we
No? Okay,
can't see the video.
let me share again. Can you see?
Yes, we can now.
All right, let me share the sound. Can you hear the sound?
The presentation
we can hear it.
in two parts.
Okay.
The first part
So let's experience the one student 10-minute presentation. So part 1, part 2, and then this is a little bit different, as I mentioned, but overall they are very much similar, so that you will see how you can refer to the previous experience of the reflection of part 1, part 2, and then you will make a better way of your critical reflection for your report as well as your colleagues, students. Okay, so let's look at this video first, and then we can have a little bit of discussion and then go for more detail how we can critically prepare your reflection and peer assessment.
will involve reflection of my own works with task 1 and 2, and the second part would involve the reflection from the peer assessment of other students' reports. When I first enrolled, I thought the subject is going to only involve advanced wastewater and solid waste treatment design, which would contain critical calculations from prerequisite hydraulics and hydrology and principle of environmental engineering. But after getting an understanding of the subject contents and the assessment task, I was able to improve my perspective. This subject provided me with an opportunity to introduce and improve my skills in preparing cultural and heritage impact assessment and the technical design of a land-based effluent treatment site. From the scenario options provided in task 1, I chose to do option 1 based on Napru sewage treatment plant, because I did not have any idea on cultural and heritage impact assessments, and I thought it would be easier if I utilized the resources given in the subject rather than doing a scenario of my own choice. Initially, I found the concept of CHIA report hard to understand. The assessment guide sheet had several words from the Maori language, which made further confusion on assessment task requirements and the cultural aspects. After going through the lecture video and doing several external research, reading and analysis, I was able to get an idea of the CHIA report. I understood that its purpose is to assess existing conditions and analyze how the proposed development alters it and identifying potential impacts on cultural and heritage attributes, with a recommendation of alternative mitigation strategies. The sample task 1 from previous semesters was a huge guidance which gave me a basic understanding about cultural and heritage impact assessment structure and components. The task 1 took more than the expected time to complete than I initially thought, but I was able to fully understand the concept of cultural and heritage impact assessment in the end. Task 2, the effluent irrigation design, was similar to my initial thoughts, which involved critical design and complex calculations. The task involved the integration of the knowledge of chemistry, geology, soil, and water. The Excel spreadsheet with the formulas assisted me in performing my calculation with a high accuracy and speed. The lecturer's consultation session was helpful in fully understanding the Excel spreadsheet and collect the rainfall data from the Bureau of Meteorology. And again, the sample task 2s from the previous semesters were a huge guidance which gave me a basic understanding of the effluent irrigation design components and report structure. I would say that I found task 2 more easier to understand and complete than task 1 since it involved a lot of guided calculations from the Excel spreadsheet. Overall, the subject provided me with an opportunity to work with projects based on realistic scenarios, improving my skills in investigation, analysis, problem solving, and decision making based on cultural sensitivity and impact with the application of environmental engineering concept to solve problems. Additionally, I also improved my transferable skills such as data handling, report analysis, research skills, and multimedia communication. I strongly believe that this learning can be applied in future as an engineer where I would often involved with confidently making decisions based on available data to solve problems taking account of the local culture involved with the project. And now we will be moving on to the second part of the presentation. For this task, I would be utilizing the SOLO structure of learning outcome assessment criteria to assess the 3 reports from each assessment task. For the peer review of assessment task 1, I have been provided with 3 reports, C11, C12, and C24. C11 has chosen to do a scenario of choice, which is a road development project in the Blue Mountains area, while C12 and C24 have chosen the Napru sewage treatment plant scenario. After reviewing the reports, I would say that all 3 reports briefly discusses the project background, objective, and methodology. It all describes the land area, environment, impacted community, and the past or current use of land as relevant to the proposed project and surrounding areas. It addresses the concern of the community regarding the impact with realistic future growth potential. C11 stated multiple legislation and policies but did not briefly discuss how the legislation impacts the projects and assessments. C24 only briefly discussed 1 out of 3 legislation, while C12 have briefly discussed all 3 legislation and its impact on the project. Reflecting on report C12, it has a big paragraph of objective which I would choose to avoid since I would recommend to indicate project objective in dot points for easy understanding and reading comfortability. The report C24 used a table to summarize and assess the impact severity on the culture, which I think is a suitable element to use in a GR report. It would certainly assist the readers to get more understanding of the likelihood and the impact range on the culture. I would certainly use this element in future GR reports. All 3 reports have recommended satisfactory strategies to minimize or mitigate the cultural and heritage impact on the site. I would classify the 3 reports as SOLO 5, which perceive structures from many different perspectives and transfer ideas to new areas with competence to generalize, hypothesize, and criticize. I found C12 as the best report out of other 2, and these are my scores for the reports depending on my review. So I gave C11 8.5 out of 10, C12 9 out of 10, and C24 8.5 out of 10. For the peer review of assessment tasks 2, I have been provided with 3 reports which are ED5, ED11, and ED17. The report ED5 is well structured and briefly discusses the background, statement of problem, and the objectives of the projects. The report only provides the calculation evidence for the forage grass which was initially recommended by the council. As per my views, the report should include the calculation of alternative crops as well as a formal and professional requirement. However, the final recommendation of ED5 is maize, which has greater treatment area than the plant lucerne. The decision-making process of the report took account of the storage capacity when recommending the irrigation crop, which is not an essential requirement by the council. I would describe the report ED11 as not critically analyzed. It failed to discuss the land treatment to be used, whether it's going to be slow rate treatment process or overland process or rapid infiltration. The report discusses about the alternative crops that could be used for the treatment site and does not provide with the data used to perform the Excel calculations in the appendix. The pre-application treatment has been generalized with stating the advantages only. It does not specify how the treatment will be done to achieve those advantages out of it. The report recommends utilizing lucerne with white clover for an optimum benefit. However, it does not further discuss or specify the final treatment area and storage volume that would be required for the irrigation on different seasons in a year. The conclusion of ED11 is too short with mentioning the request for additional investigation and does not briefly discuss the report findings. The report ED17 is mostly well written and structured, briefly discussing regulatory requirements, statement of problems, objectives, and scope of works. However, this report does not recommend any specific alternative crops and only provided with the calculation evidence for forage sorghum. The report just concludes that a high nutrition uptake crop would reduce the land required for the land treatment, showing forage sorghum as an example with the additional investigation requirement. Based on my review, I would categorize ED5 as Solo 5, ED11 as Solo 3, and ED17 as Solo 4. And these are my scores for the peer assessment task. I gave ED5 8.5 out of 10, ED11 6.5 out of 10, and ED17 7 out of 10. Reflecting on those reports, ED5 identified the objective in two different ways, such as environmental and economic. I would consider using this element in future reports as it elaborates and improves the understanding of the report purpose. Overall, I found the task 3 as effective as I could self-reflect on the skills and knowledge which I gained throughout the semester. I got additional perspective on the thought and decision-making process of different students and end up finding new report elements that I could use to improve my own work in future. Thank you.
All right, so this is the one of the example. So how do you feel for your task 3?
Sean, just one comment.
Yeah.
I think we will maybe we should discourage to put the background music, right? I think it's a bit of distraction.
All right, this it's a background music is just for the making sure this is exactly not the student report to make a little bit of
I see.
Yeah. It's a background. You don't have to put the background.
Okay.
Background is not. Yeah.
Yeah, background music was you have put it, not from the student.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have to put the background the music. This is from our editing of the video for removing the name, and then we just remove their own personal information in the video. That's the reason why we just make a little bit of different style of. But background the music, you don't have to put any in your video system.
Okay, that's good.
That's keep a good point, Sharon.
Okay.
Okay, so task 3 is just one of the example of you have to do. So you critically look at your own report as well as the other student, task 1 and task 2. So if possible, so I want you to look at the different angles. For example, like a page, she mentioned about technical issues. She doesn't have experience about what's the treatment system, what's the technical demanding for this effluent water quality in irrigation. So that's what it is. She's a little bit confused, and then she's lost. What's the best way to design? So in this case, she can look at the more detailed information, how other people design better way of the technical issue. And then she will learn, okay, if you have that kind of knowledge and skill, so you can make a better design of your technical aspect and then treatment system. So the page can review your own other people's report, look at how they organize the technical aspect, how they design the treatment system, so that she will learn more about her self-reflection for her report. So that's the way, you know, I want you to look at the point which you don't have your own strengths, because you have your own strengths. You don't have to improve a lot, but you need to improve which is your weakness. So this weakness can be also learned from other reports. So if you can just look at your weakness and then other people, how they structure well and organize and then discuss and then critically implement in the report. So that's the key point. You have to see, and then you have to reflect in your video how they are different, how you can improve in your report, and then that's the way you can have a better understanding of your task 3 assignment. So that's the always look at which you can learn from the others, or so how you can improve your own report. So that's the reason why task 3 meant to design. So you have to see how you will make better after this assignment 3 experience, and then you will also keep improving your own way of the report. So let's go for our next slide. So integrating critical self-reflection. So you can just classify into 4 steps. First one is to identify your learning outcomes. Clearly, what's the you want to learn from this experience, and then design reflection activities and to best achieve your outcome, and then engage with your colleagues in the reflection activities. So you can see your student assessment, and then how you can criticize, how you can learn, how you can analyze the key point, and then access the learning. So step 1. So you need to look at the corporate social responsibility is the suited for learning outcomes around your complex dimensions of reasoning, developing enhanced understanding, questioning knowledge theories, and assumption. So you can think about learning goal of your assignment. So what do you expect you to gain? So you have to see how you can successfully completing this task 3. So you can see the how to define. So when you look at your task 1, so you didn't have any background of cultural and heritage impact assessment. So that's the little bit of different your knowledge and skill. So it was a little bit like daunting or a little bit confused, but you identify what this kind of task 1 has to be addressed. So you make sure that what's the identification, you compare, and then how they are different, how like Aboriginal people, Maori, and then how they are different from Western culture and Aboriginal culture. They don't like discharge the wastewater agitated, so that you need to do something. So we have to also compare and apply how we can satisfy them, and then you need to compute and evaluate for your step 1 system for your critical reflection, and based on that you can address in your PowerPoint slide, summarize, and then step 2 will be design reflection activities to achieve the learning outcomes, intentional and structured. So let's consider when, where, how often the reflection will occur. So as many as possible would be the best way to you can reflect your own way of the assignment, because you will have a better deep discussion of your self-reflection as well as the peer assessment. Also choose the mode already we decide to have a PowerPoint writing and then multimedia. Also, if you like, yeah, you can ask your colleague or your student or your friends, okay, their third-party opinion and perspectives. So that's also one of your skill you can utilize. Also, create clear link between your activity service content and the reflection activity, and define the criteria for assessing the activity, making more challenging. So this step is not only about this report is better or this report is worse, it's good or bad. So this report is how you critically analyze the group aspects of the knowledge and skill, and from the other people's report and your report. And then ultimately you need to observe the skill and then apply to improve your future, your professional presentation, writing, and then critical thinking, and then critical deep criticism can be incorporated from your own way of the task 3. So that's the make it more challenging, how you can read and think, and then how you can critically interpret the others and your own report. It's the best timing to see your own way of the tasks. Also, step 3, encourage colleagues and lecturers in reflection. So guide you to higher level of complexity of the thinking, analyzing, and reasoning. So you have to try the high level of your critical thinking, and then analysis, also good justification. So you can summarize in your task 3 and then present. Also balance of challenge and support during the actual engagement portion. So you have to also look at the more challenging criticism. So this is not about this report or your report, good or bad. So you have to make a more challenging interpretation of how you can improve the others, how you can improve yourself. So you have to make a very challenging your way of the report presentation, and open-ended question. So every assignment, task 1 and 2, so we gave you open-ended question to make more broad and then deep understanding. Also encourage active participation, evaluation of your own design report. So you have to also look at what did you learn. So at the initial stage, you didn't know even cultural and heritage impact assessment, and then even you didn't know how to design your effluent irrigation treatment system. So you have to realize that after that, whether you can possibly apply your knowledge and skill to design for this water treatment process based on the sewage wastewater treatment plant. And then you can also engage with your Aboriginal people and the better way of the negotiation, and then the meaning of the culture and then heritage. So before you joined this class, yeah, you didn't have any idea, but now how you're confident to design your own way of wastewater treatment process, and then how you can make a better way of the irrigation purpose. So you can have a more confident without any help. So independently, yeah, you can manage. So you have to also be more confident yourself to design and engage with the meaning of task 1 and task 2. So what does this mean for you, and how this what you learn relevant information in other classes or to life outside higher education. That's the same mechanism. You have to continuously engage there, how you can reflect your activity, how you can make a better strategy to improve yourself, and what is the one question related to this lesson. So you have to, at the end of your presentation, so I like to hear about what's your lesson, maybe one sentence or two sentences. So what's your best key point to address this for A1 for the water and environment design based on this class, and then what's your lesson? You can summarize what you have to do. Then how has your knowledge of this topic changed? What will you do about what you have learned and experienced? So that's also a key point. So at the end of also your presentation, you clearly identify what did you learn, and then how you will apply this experience. So if you can clearly identify, that will be a very good, your learning outcome from this critical self-reflection. Also, you can utilize any kind of source. You can talk to your colleague, you can talk to your friends, family, even girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever. So you can have some feedback from them. Also, you can incorporate in your slide, so other people what they think, and then you can have also a little bit of discussion, your own perspective, other people's perspective, why it's different. Also collaborative learning, problem solved learning, and then reflective, also interview, you can incorporate if you like, also presentation, any kind of your skill, and then your strategy can be included in the 10 minutes video. So there is no clear guideline. You don't have. I just already we provide you example, which is just for your example. I'm sure that you will make a much more better storytelling, better technical support, better way of visualize your presentation for 10 minutes. That's exactly, we are expecting to see your engagement. Also, I like to utilize the concept, also mind mapping or diagram. So people have their own way of drawing. So you have your idea, you have your critical thinking, you have your deep thinking, and then you have to make a diagram, your own diagram. So what's the reflection, how you task learn. So if you don't know where you start, so just write it down. Okay, you learn this one, you learn this one, this is not good. So you just write it down, small pieces. So these small pieces will make a very good conceptual diagram. So I like all my students to try your own way of the mind mapping, your own way of conceptual diagram. Also, concept mapping is very important to think about and organize your perspectives and your own way of the direction. So don't be afraid where you start. Just write it down, every keywords, even maybe phrase, even sentence, or photos, or any other single piece of information will help you to make a better self-reflection. So please try, keep accumulating, and then you will have a definitely better way of the task 3. Also, even though, I didn't recommend a lot of technical incorporation like music, background music, you don't have to do. Also, just the conceptual, your way of the presentation is more than enough. But when you have more professional report, so you are working in consulting, something like a Jago or KPMG or BHP, as a big company, there you have to bid for the Olympic Brisbane 2023, and then you have to make a report for the bidding report. So you have to make a lot of your resources, a lot of different way of your media and performance activity. So in this case, definitely you can utilize all of your resources to make a better way of your reports. So that's we can, but in this task 3, yeah, we don't expect that level of professionalism. Just you prepare your own way of the critical thinking, deep thinking, and then how you can represent based on the very good way of the diagram, and then organize your discussion. That will be a much more important. And this is the open-ended writing activity, discussion, speaking activity. Also, we can utilize diagrammatic activity, media performance. Also, you can take another look at your learning outcome. What kind of reflection strategy do you think would be good tip for your learning goal? So which one intrigue you? So that's the very important to see which one is the good fit, because everybody has a different way of their presentation style, and then their presentation of critical thinking. So how you can make sure that your own way of style, and then I'm sure that this will be much more easier for you for the next step. And last step is what kind of assessment activity will work. Then what product will demonstrate learning. Then which criteria will be used for evaluation. So after you finish your 10-minute video, also you can think about how you can make it better. And then you can show your also friends or your colleagues, also let them see whether it's clear enough, also whether it's flow well, organized well. And then you can also get some of the feedback from your colleague and your student, and the access again, and then you will have a much more better quality of your self-reflection strategy. And this is the assessing different way of your critical self-reflection. The domain 1, 2, 3, 4. Even though, yeah, already we have a very much same background. So you are civil and environmental engineering, and then this is the water environmental design. And then we have a same assessment, task 1, task 2. So we didn't have much problem of different culture and then different background. However, when you have different discipline, like we can say that the interpersonal or critical, political, ethical, social context, we would face a different way of the perspectives. So how we can resolve this kind of thing? So we have a 4 domain: self-critical, interpersonal, contextual, and critical. So when you face this different way of the background people, so how you can handle, so what discipline-based ideas and framework inform your interpretation. So you don't have any cultural background, heritage background, but some of people, they are good background of their art, and they have a cultural background, so that you will have also different opinion from them. The technical background, engineering background will also face the different way of the discipline ideas. So how we can framework with interacting with the other people. Also, what aspects of your disciplinary background lead you to dwell on certain aspect of an issue or problem, and not others. Also, whose perspective might be missing or overlooked. So when you have a different background people, so you will get the different angles so that you will have a better reflection of your interpersonal domain. Also, when you think about the political and ethical and social aspect, so what's the political context in this situation? So you want to design your chia report, and then you want to design your own way of the water reuse irrigation purpose. So in this case, your Aboriginal people, how they receive this kind of concept. So some of the cultural background, for example, like they don't like recycling water because this is not clean enough from their perception. So the Western culture, yeah, we are very acceptable to have this kind of water reuse, and then we can have toilet flushing or non-potable purpose. But still, there are a lot of cultural background which don't like this wastewater reuse concept. So we have to also look at this kind of some cultural, ethical, social context, also political agenda, how we can also handle in this domain as critical. And then self-critical already, yeah, we discussed about a lot. So why are you interested in a particular issue? And then what questions seems important to you? What informs your view? What aspects of your background are you drawing in? And what personal experience do you have? Also last but not least, contextual. So reflecting on concepts, theory, or method. So when you interpret, when you critically analyze, so you need a skill which can reflect your concept, theory, and method. So it can be previous reference you can utilize, or you can develop your own way of the theory and the method, which will be a more professional and then logical way of your contextual you can utilize. So what insight were generated or do you hope to generate by using a particular approach? So when you have a task 3, so rather than you are comparing pros and cons, rather than you're comparing what did you learn, also you can compare a little bit of theory, a little bit of method, and then you can fit with your own idea in this kind of contextual domain. So this will be a much more professional way of the report you can prepare, and on what basis do this insight contribute to knowledge or practice? What different insight maybe have been made if a different approach or perspective had been taken, so that you can have also very good your domain, and then you can have a better approach of your self-reflection. So this is the more about summary. Already we cover most of them. So your report, the processes that followed in preparation of your report, groundwork, resources, your decision to choose scenario option, task 1, challenges, so ambiguity, uncertainty, imprecise information assumption, and then consultation, colleagues, the classmates, supervisors, also you can consult, and how these have to make a decision that finally shaped your report outcome. So how different was your report from your initial expectations? So what you learned from this assignment? Any change in your perception and how this can be useful to you one day in your career. So that's the basic report format you can follow. But yeah, if you have a more professional way of the deep understanding and learning, so you can have a better way of your task 3 multimedia presentation. So task 3 should be how you have done, not what you have done. So you have to think about how you can make a better way of your task 3. And then the peer review. So you will have a peer review. So self-reflection also covered in your peer review. So we will have a good experience for your reflect on your own performance of the other people's also report, and then make a portfolio, and then also we can have a learning journal. So that's the way circularity we can achieve to have a better peer assessment and self-reflection. And this is your task 3. So you will have a peer assessment of your task 1 and task 2. So we will provide 3, but you don't have to do 3, most of them. You can select 2 of them, or you can do 3 of them, depending on your convenience. So task 1, task 2 report of at least 2 different students will be also we can provide, and then you can prepare your at least 2 peer review report, and then review, present, brief comment, the good aspects and shortcomings of the report, any solace, and what did you learn from their report, and what good aspects of the report would consider incorporating and improving your own report. So you can also have this kind of format from the peer assessment, and then you can state your experience with this peer review assignment, and you can make a presentation. So this is the format already. Yeah, we briefly covered. Video recording of your presentation slide, your live video should be at least on first page, and total duration up to 10 minutes. But yeah, of course, a little bit of more than 10 minutes should be acceptable. So not too much worry about 10 minutes, 1 second, or 10 minutes, 5 seconds. So video can be either this format. I prefer MP4, and average or low resolution video is fine. The contents are most important. Assessment will be based on content and clarity of the presentation, and slides in the Canvas, where the first page is linked to YouTube, and the pre-recorded video should be uploaded in the YouTube channel. And then submission due is the 31st of October. How about the 31st of October? Is it manageable timing, or what do you think? The due date of the task 3.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's all right. So we have almost 2 to 3 weeks, so that I'm sure that you can manage this one. And we will have one more video for the task 3, and then we can share some more discussion. So after this video, you can ask a question about what you want to implement, or how you can change the format, how to make it better? Yeah, everybody ready?
Yep, already.
Okay. Here you go.
I will begin this presentation by viewing my personal self-reflection of both Task 1 and Task 2, which have since been completed. Initially, both tasks seemed extremely daunting, since it was my first practical experience conducting a cultural and heritage impact assessment and report for effluent design, in which I had to make recommendations and support that by literature review. This feeling was then heightened when realizing the recommended page limit was at 20 pages per assignment task. Despite this, my approach was to simply read through the entire assignment brief and highlight the key concepts and tasks required in order to divide the assignment into much smaller and achievable tasks, completing each one by one, which came to the ultimate completion of each task. I think this attitude of dividing and conquer, in addition to peer collaboration, ensuring we are all on similar tracks and identifying the key points, attributed to the successful completion of these tasks. Overall, I believe this was a successful experience, in which the quality of the reports exceeded my initial expectations. Throughout this process, I believe the key lessons I took from it, that all actions, even ones which seem like it's doing a world of good, such as the sewage treatment plant, can have negative consequences. However, it's not the negative consequences that we need to focus on. It's the mitigation effects and the views of the wider community which really control how we can successfully plant or implement this sort of technology. Moving on to the second part of this presentation, I will be conducting a reflection of peer assessment tasks for both Task 1 and Task 2. Starting with the Cultural and Heritage Impact Assessment, in which I got assigned reports C6, C11 and C12. Firstly, when reviewing C6, I thought the quality of the report was extremely high, with a strong understanding of key concepts such as identification of cultural sites and regulations, which governed the area and how that would impact the sewage treatment plant effluent quality. Furthermore, the list of 5 valid recommendations was a standout for me, especially the fact that they were all supported and referenced by academic reports, and something I wish I improved on in my own reports. On the flip side of this, I think the report was just missing that key link between describing exactly how the sewage effluent quality would damage or cause concern to the cultural sites. Overall, I scored this report an 8.5 out of 10. C11 was a unique report in which the student decided to choose their own site, which was along the Great Western Highway. I think this decision to choose a site which the student is currently working on both had its pros and cons. Positives included a really detailed understanding of the regulatory requirements and the guidelines outlined by their client, which in this case was Transport for New South Wales. I also think another pro of this is that they had a really good understanding of all the affected sites along the path, considering they had already conducted pre-assessment land conditions. Despite this though, I think the biggest downfall of this decision was that the nearest cultural site was more than 500 metres from the works, which meant that the mitigation strategies were largely genetic and did not have specific examples of specific sites linked directly to construction activities that would be present on the job. Overall, I scored this report a 7.5 out of 10. C12 went back to the Narfew sewage treatment plant site and provided an extremely in-depth analysis of the cultural sites, legislative and regulatory requirements, and focused a lot on the socio-cultural impacts that would arise if the cultural sites were damaged or destroyed. I think this socio-cultural impact assessment was something that I missed in my own Task 1, and it's something now that I can grasp how important it is and wish I employed that in my first task. Despite this, I found the report to be missing a major part in that there was hardly any mention of the effluent quality and how this would potentially impact the cultural sites. Furthermore, the recommendations made were largely unsupported, and there was no analysis of uncertainties or limitations, and consequently I scored this report a 7 out of 10. When comparing the three reports, I think the key point of similarity lies in the analysis of the legislative and regulatory requirements, which I think all three reports did a great job of understanding exactly what would be required or acceptable. On the other hand, I think the supported recommendations by C6 definitely distinguished itself from other reports, which provided a more generic or unsupported recommendations, and consequently I gave the highest rating to. Moving on to the next section, which is a reflection of the peer reports regarding Task 2, Effluent Design. In this case, I was assigned E5, E8, and E20 reports. Starting with E5, which I thought was a really well-structured and all-round high-quality report. In particular, I favoured how the student analysed the nitrogen cycle and explained the process of crop uptake, which I think is really important for the reader. In addition, this is something I didn't do in my Task 2, and now reflecting back is something that I really wish I included. Furthermore, this report gave detailed analysis into the methodology and data selection parameters, in addition to choosing 2 crops as the recommended output and explaining in which circumstances each one would be used. The only improvements I would suggest for this report would be to clarify on the limitations and uncertainties and include visual cues to make it easier for the reader. Overall, I scored this report an 8 out of 10. Moving on to E8, which similarly had very detailed introduction, methodology, and parameter selection, with the inclusion of some tables to make it easier to read. Despite this, I think the executive summary, conclusion, and identification of limitations were extremely brief in this report, as well as there being no mention of any limiting hydraulic loading factor other than in the appendix, which in my opinion plays a big role and should be included in the main body of the report. Consequently, I scored this report a 6 out of 10. On the other hand, E20 focused on the soil salinity of the effectiveness of effluent design, which I think is another concept which is good to grasp and something I could include in my own report to strengthen it. Despite the report having a decent structure and detailed analysis on how each component would be calculated, there was no section regarding results at all. The report went straight from the methodology to the final field area and storage volume required for the recommended crop selection. Furthermore, the report provided a very minimal list of limitations and uncertainties, and provided no comment or explanation on the recommended crop only having a 6-month operational period. Consequently, I scored the report a 5 out of 10. When comparing the 3 reports, it is interesting to note that all 3 provided different recommendations in terms of crop selection and got extremely different values for the field area and required storage volume. 2 of the reports additionally recommended pre-treatment processes to positively skew results. Overall, I wish all 3 reports included more visual representation of the results and graphs to examine the significant levels of impact in effluent quality and/or crop selection variations that have on the field area and storage volume, respectively. Ultimately, it was the explanation of results and thorough comparison of recommendations that placed E5 as a superior report compared to the others.
All right. So, do you have any questions based on these 2 videos?
No, I think it's all good.
So it looks like you know what to do for your task 3, which are very important for your last puzzle of how to improve to yourself and others and how to learn for your future career, right? Okay. So that's what we have today. So if you have any other questions, yeah, please, let me know if you before we close this class. Do you have any question, Paige?
No, I'm all
Paul?
good, thanks.
That's great. How about Paul? And
That's all good.
Honey.
All good. Just when do you reckon this will be uploaded? This video?
I think that we have a due date, the 31st of October, end of this month, right?
Oh no, I mean
think-
like this recording of this lecture. Sorry.
All right, okay, this video. All right, so we can do tonight. It's okay?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. How about Honey?
Yeah, all good.
All good. All right. So I really appreciate for your great involvement and engagement for this class. This especially, this time is completely locked down. So because of this pandemic from July till now. Yeah, today is we almost finished our class, and then today is a freedom day of the New South Wales, right? That's what a coincidence. Yeah. So thank you for your great support. And then, anytime, you can we will engage with you. So if you necessary, we will also have a consultation timing, but I'm sure that this is very much clear about self-reflection based on the slide and the video. So if you have any further questions, please contact me or Sharup. So we will help you and then keep engaging together with you until end of this class. Thank you. How about Sharup? Do you have anything to add?
Yes, no, I have nothing. So I just want to thank Henning, Paul, and Paige for sticking with us all through. They have been very consistent attendees for this subject. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you all, and all the best, and have a great day.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
you.
You too.
Yeah,
Thank
bye.
you.
Yeah, bye.
All right.